Damn, let me just fucking start the show over, guys. Welcome back to Pure Evil MMA. I'm your host, as always, Evil Eddie, back in studio. I am so sorry about that. I'm so happy I caught that. But, guys, coming off a crazy, crazy night for UFC 25-year anniversary. Yair Rodriguez going in there against the Korean Zombie and getting it done, really pulling through when the UFC needs you most. And I always say this, like, what lasts? When you watch a card, what's going to make it last in your mind towards the end of the year when that end of the year recap show comes up where you go through best knockout, fighter of the year, and submission of the year and whatnot? What's going to stand out? You at least need your co-main, which was Cowboy Cerrone versus Perry. Phenomenal fight. And Perry posted some funny ass shit about Ace Ventura when he's crawling out of the rhino's ass. It looked just like Cowboy. On point. Always a good feeling when Cowboy Cerrone gets a W. Last night he really needed it more than Mike Perry did. Well, if you're UFC, you'd probably be rooting for Mike Perry to build his star power a little bit more. And we're going to be talking about that on today's show. In the main event, pulling it off with 1 second left, and I brought back the recap show last night. If there was any time to bring back the recap show, it was last night because that was one of the best knockout of the year by far. Yair Rodriguez pulling it off with 1 second left on the clock, which should show everybody, never give up. Don't give up. If you're in there and you're down every single round, you are down to the last second. Never count yourself out ever. And Yair Rodriguez proved that. There are so many people out there that give up in the last second. Now, we got Jack Stapelton calling in. Hold on 1 second, Jack. Let me just run everybody through what they're going to witness tonight on the podcast. So our first guest caller, we have Jack Stapelton calling in. And I've been begging this kid to come on the show because I've heard a lot about him, and then I got to witness my first calf slicer. We're going to talk to him in just a second. He's right here on the line. Calling in after him, we got Robert TQ Turnquest, who's going to be calling in later on in the show. We also have John Gunther, who's going to be calling in just a little bit here. And then Marie Jules Perez to end today's show. But what is going on, Jack Stapleton? How you doing, man? It's an honor to have you on the show.
What's up, dog?
Not much, man. I mean, first off, I gotta say this: everyone at Cage Titans has their own character. I mean, you fit that mold perfectly. How old are you, by the way? You're really young, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm 19.
You're 19 years old, so you actually were like touring the Naga scene. How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu? Because when you came in, Brian Gerson looks at me and goes, "Dude, don't blink for this match. These dudes are so good on the ground." But you actually went in there and you started striking. So first off, when did you start? Because you're so young still.
Yeah, I started training 4 years ago. I started competing about 3 years ago, but I compete quite a lot, a couple hundred matches in. So there's a lot of experience there that none of these dudes in the local scene have. So it's just what I have going before them.
I was talking.
Yeah, as soon as the fight started, I just abandoned all my instincts and threw 7 head kicks. It was not the plan, but that's just what happened. It was funny.
So how does that happen? Where the coach is kind of mad about it because the crowd was eating it up. Like, here we are thinking that you're going to bring it right to the ground, and you guys actually went in there and traded. Both of you guys were in there trading with one another. Were you expecting? Obviously, you're saying it wasn't planned, but were your coaches a little mad that you did that or no?
No, they wanted me to throw some kicks and stuff on the feet. They wanted me to stand with him because they knew that he is good at jiu-jitsu. And if I was going to lose that fight, I was going to lose it in his closed guard. So that was where I was cautious. But yeah, I wanted to just see where I was at on the feet and just try to get some striking. That was literally what I was thinking.
Now, man, walk us through how you got this calf slicer, because like I said, this was the first time I ever seen a calf slicer live covering an event, and you pulled it off right in front of my eyes.
It's a basic submission. I mean, I hit it all the time. I don't really go for it too much. Now that I did, I've been thinking about all these new transitions. But anyways, I was in his closed guard, and I did not want to be there because he has a good high guard, and I'm not good at defending from in there. So when I'm set my butt, got my leg over to a ring, and then I got a toe hold, which is totally legal in the second, but the referee made a mistake. No disrespect, but they were stupid, and I could have ended the fight a minute earlier or whatever. But after that, I went for a knee bar, and he came up and gave me the calf slicer, and I went belly down, and then it was over.
So, man, right after that, you got submission of the night. How did that feel? I mean, you've been doing, jiu-jitsu nonstop, it sounds like. And I even talked to Mitch Raposo, who was like, this kid goes to Nag. He's like, sign me up, let me in there. And you're just hungry, man. So was it kind of reassuring to get a submission of the night under an MMA organization?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was awesome. And it was good to just, put on for the local jiu-jitsu team. No dudes really, have been transitioning to MMA that I've seen. So it's good to do that and represent.
So how did you celebrate that night?
Well, man, I went back to my crib, my homie coach, and we just kicked it in my crib. I just woke up, trained the next morning. We do this every single weekend. He comes down and he's from Maine. He was at my corner. Also, Angel Rodriguez and Tom Egan, my coaches. We were just we do this every weekend. We train for competitions all the time, and it is different than it's MMA, but it doesn't feel different. Pre-match, after match, it's all the same thing. So you know what I mean? It was just it was nothing humbly.
So before we talk about what's next with you, I got to get your take on some of the other fights. Were you able to catch Joe Genetti's fight?
I did not. I know that it was like a split decision, and it was no, it was a draw or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
What were people around you saying? What were you seeing on social media with what people were saying reacting to that fight?
Joe said that he thought that he won after he rewatched the tape, something like that. Joe actually had a couple of matches with that dude that was in my corner. Funny to say that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about Josh Harvey. I heard he's a savage too.
So listen, man, before we talk about what's next, I want to get a little bit to your character. You came out here, one thing that definitely stood out with you is your hair. How long have you been doing this with your hair, getting
Yeah.
it braided? And you look badass, bro. You look like one of these new age SoundCloud rappers. You know who you kind of remind me of? Has anyone ever told you kind of remind them of the Backpack Kid a little bit? Like you should incorporate that into your fight dance. You should do the old the floss at the end, like Backpack Kid. I would love that.
Oh man, oh no, I can't do that.
That's too good, man. So yeah, how long have you had this hairstyle before? Have you always done crazy wild stuff with your style and stuff like that? Because it definitely brings out a character to you. And as I said, your new era mixed martial arts, and everyone's realizing you have to have something about you that stands out. And man, you caught my eye
100%.
immediately.
Yeah, it's all part of it. The hair, the highlight music, like walking out to Suicide Boys was this one, but usually I walk out to like Portuguese music and shit like that. I just like do my own thing, and I kind of try to differ from all these other competitors. And you'll see a lot of jiu-jitsu that you'll never see from anybody in the local scene from me, and it's all part of it. I've been working on this hair for 2 years strong, man.
It's coming out good, man. It looks sick.
My hair goals, I've not reached the hair goals yet. I haven't gotten what I wanted out of it.
You definitely fit in with my whole Lost Boy Neverland vibe. Like never grow up. You definitely fit into that category there for me. And I gotta ask you, man, you just brought up the Suicide Boys, like one of my favorite rap groups right there. Those dudes are definitely solid, and they play with a lot of people that I like Little Peep, Ghost Man, like a lot of those guys. You're into the era of hip hop.
Yeah, I just recently started getting into Suicide Boys just because I was picking walkout songs and I was just trying to find something that was like absolutely crazy hype, and that was exactly what fit. I wanted to walk out to like I gave them 4 songs because I know that they were not going to let like any of them go because of the swears, but they picked Paris, so it was all right.
That's so good, man. So moving on, when can we see you back in there? I'm so anxious to see a lot of the guys that I saw on this card, including Apatow, like Jacobo. Like
Yeah.
he was supposed to fight on this card. His opponent doesn't make weight. Let's start there. Did you peep that? And what were you feeling there when that happened? Was it awkward at weigh-ins?
Wait, who is it?
Jacobo. He was supposed to.
Yeah, his opponent never showed, right?
Yeah, his opponent never showed up. What was the reaction there at the weigh-ins?
That was weird. I had no idea what was going on. I found out like after because I didn't even notice, but I was just listening to your thing with him. He's a fun dude, man.
Yeah, he is. He came on last week's show and did one of the most interesting interviews I ever heard. Which you guys can check that down below here in the playlist. But when can we see you back in there? I'm dying to see you. I think Cage Titans is an upcoming card. What, at the end of the year, or when's the next card?
I think they're in January. I'm not sure if there's any MMA promotions in December, but if there is, then I'll be on them.
Yeah, there's not many promotions going on right now towards the end of the year, especially around here. But Ammo Fight League. Have you heard of them?
Yes, I actually have a jiu-jitsu match next weekend. That's there.
At the Big E Fairgrounds. Is that where they're doing it again?
Yeah, no, I think that this one's different. I think this one's in Connecticut.
Oh shit! I gotta go then. When'd you say that was next week, and you're gonna be there?
Yeah, it's just one jiu-jitsu match. It's against a local 125 amateur fighter too, which is pretty cool.
So before we let you go, man, we got 2 minutes left before John Gunther calls in. What's the biggest difference getting ready for a jiu-jitsu match compared to MMA now that you've got 2 fights in?
To be honest, it's not too different. I mean, the transitions that I do in jiu-jitsu are not what other people do in jiu-jitsu. And what I do in jiu-jitsu and MMA is not what people do. So it's just it's almost like a secret like cheat code. Like I feel these dudes don't know how to defend the transition, and it's not too much different getting ready for it. Obviously, striking. I work a lot of boxing, but change Rodriguez, all that. But yeah, it's not too much different, man. It's fun though. It's a lot funner.
So listen, man, you got 2 fights in there. Both of them have ended in the first round. So do you kind of feel that pressure building up? It seems like a lot of people, they mold their character. Like Ronda Rousey, for instance, she was best known for going in there and finishing her opponents in the first round. Are you starting to feel that? I mean, obviously it's so early on in your career, but it's
Yeah,
reality, man. You got 2 first round finishes that kind of got to build the ego and confidence. You kind of feel a little pressure there to get it done in one?
I'm trying to just look at it like if I just stay as active as possible, nothing matters. Like I win and lose in jiu-jitsu. I have like 100 more losses in jiu-jitsu than I do than wins. So when I compete, like I just focus on competing as much as possible. That's the way to do it. Not to focus on the win or loss, but there is pressure there. I know exactly what you mean. And going into the third fight, it's just building the hype. And it's just making me way more fired up. So yes and no, but yes in a good way. Like it definitely makes it more intriguing to go after another first round finish.
Jack, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone that's been listening to the podcast the past couple of weeks have all been hearing me trying to get you on here, so it's definitely a big relief. I'm really excited for your future, man. So you got your Pure Evil MMA Horns. You officially broke the ice here on Pure Evil MMA, so we definitely have to have you back on ASAP. Before we let you go, you want to give out your social media tags and where people can find you? Any shout outs? The floor is all yours.
Yeah, I'm at Relentless Worldwide on Instagram and Facebook, and John Stapleton on Facebook. Shout out David Quach, Andrew Rodriguez, Tom Megan, David Spino, all the dudes at Trifecta MMA, TFT, Mama, BJJ, everything and all that. Hell yeah. Thanks, Doug. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Have a great night, Jack.
Thank you, brother. Peace.
Here we go, guys. New era. The new era of MMA coming here on the show. And let me tell you guys, it was so awesome last night watching 6 fighters that we've had here on the program going to a UFC 25-year anniversary and looking at all the big media outlets. Even the violent Bob Ross going in there and getting the fight with Chisano. All right, I had to make sure that this was going good. Violent Bob Ross, I mean, going in there against Mike Trizano right off the bat, I had to say that wasn't the smartest fight to match him up with. And we have John Gunther calling in right now. Mr. Gunther, what's going on, boss?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, man. So let's jump right into things here, man. You got this fight last night going into it. Was it an honor or what to be on the 25-year anniversary card?
Yeah, it was incredible opportunity to be on the 25th anniversary card and get to fight, a really highly ranked guy, and I was super pumped.
So how did you get matched up with Davey Ramos? He's going in there. He's an undefeated fighter. You're an undefeated fighter. Well, you went into the Ultimate Fighter as, the undefeated season. I believe, obviously last night was a loss, and then on the finale was a loss, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But how did you meet up with Davey Ramos? How was this fight matched up?
I was just waiting for anything, and they said, Davy Ramos, and I was like, yeah. I mean, obviously, I didn't know who he was at the time, but then I looked him up, and he's incredible. So, super pumped to fight him.
So going into last night's event, what were you thinking? Did you think that this was going to be a long, drawn-out battle? Because I actually picked you on Tapology yesterday doing this fight. The odds had you at some crazy numbers, and I've seen your fights before in the past. You're a really durable fighter. So when you went in there, how did you think you were going to match up against Davey?
I thought it was a good matchup. I thought I thought I could wear him down because he seemed like his endurance might have been an issue, and I could wear on him and then get him later. But I knew that he was really good at that rear naked position, and sometimes I just give up my back when I'm trying to scramble up, and I get away with it a lot of times on a lot of guys. But we really worked on not doing that, although that didn't really happen in reality.
And it kind of
It
seemed
was
like the same thing
kind of an
played out.
embarrassing performance.
It, it seemed like the same thing kind of played out here. It was like you went in there and it happened so quick, and you just still wanted to go back out there and fight. Like you were still ready to go, like we saw on the season Ultimate Fighter, man. So what did you learn in this fight for next time?
Yeah, it was just. It was. I gotta be smarter. Like I'm stupid sometimes, and I just overconfident. I just need to take my time. The onus is on him to choke me out. I should just scooched up towards the cage, put my back against it, but I was in a rush, and I thought I could stand up. You know, he kind of gave me a little lead, like he gave me a little space and let me think I could get up, and I just fell for it.
Did you
boom,
rewatch the fight last night?
he
Like,
got his position. Yeah, I watched it, and it's embarrassing. I was like, man, it looks like I could have not tapped and got out with some dignity. But shoot, just like I think you're like passing out, and then like you're in a habit of tapping in practice, and I tapped, and I was like, dang, at least I would have, if I would have just passed out, I could have at least. But dang, I had to tap to a choke. I feel like it's disgusting.
well, I mean, man, like you really have never really experienced a loss like you did last night, especially on the big stage. And you've beat some pretty big names. I mean, you beat Devontae Smith, who had a really good highlight last night. Were you able to catch his fight against another Ultimate Fighter alumni in Julian Arosa?
Yeah, that was awesome. It was cool to see local guys doing so good, and that was an awesome knockout.
So do you think having a win over somebody like
I thought my fight was gonna be awesome. I thought I was gonna wear this guy down and get this big win, but I'm just like everyone's saying, oh, it's such a mismatch and stuff, and I wanted to prove everyone wrong. I was like, they don't understand. Like he's got that one position, but I just got to be smart. But I wasn't smart. I was an idiot. It's so disappointing.
I mean, honestly, man, where did you leave off? Did you talk to anybody inside the UFC brass last night? Because there are so many people out there that just love you. Like, if you look at Twitter, you look at UFC Twitter's hashtag UFC Denver, everyone's just in love with you, man. They don't want to see you, they want to see you back inside the octagon. And I honestly think you have a win over Devontae Smith. That gives you a little bit more oomph if you wanted to kind of promote that. Like, I have a win over this guy. Let's see if he can beat me this time and prove to everybody that you still are one tough son of a bitch. You gotta prove it to everybody on the big stage. Where are you right now mentally with wanting to get back in there? What do you think your plan is, and where did you leave off with the UFC? I know that was a conjoined question.
Oh, I mean, I don't know where I'm at with the UFC. Mentally, I mean, I'm fine. I just kind of disgusted with myself, but just embarrassed. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I still want to fight, the toughest guys I can. So, but I'll just I guess I'll fight wherever I can. We'll see what happens.
Would you ever fight Devontae Smith in a rematch? Because I feel like people would get behind that. Like I said, you have a win over him. He had an amazing performance last night, and it would be somebody that you're comfortable with fighting because you already have a win over him before in the past. First off, how was that fight? How did that fight go with you and Devontae back in the day? It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it didn't go so great at the start, but I didn't keep my hands up that well either. But yeah, once I figured out I needed to cover my head and not take so many punches, it went okay for me.
That was such an exciting fight. I even believe they showed some of it on the season Ultimate Fighter when you were getting ready for your fight. So I would love.
Yeah.
I would love to watch that happen again. Honestly.
Yeah, I like Devontae, but yeah, I would fight him again. I would love to would love any fight. But yeah, definitely.
So after the fight,
but he's probably moving up after that last win. I mean, that was awesome, his performance.
So would you like to fight somebody that's also in the Ultimate Fighter house? I mean, last night we saw that Luis Pena also lost against Mike the Lone Wolf Trizano. Were you able to catch that?
Yeah, that was kind of. I knew they were both. I was looking forward to that fight. I was kind of rooting for Trizano because blue team, but then I like Pena too, and I was I I knew Trizano, like, he's real good about sticking to a game plan, and he's real slick. And I thought Trizano would get it, but sometimes it's jujitsu. I was scared for him in a couple of spots, but he was able to work out of those positions and get that win. It was a great fight, back and forth. I mean, it was competitive.
Yeah, it really was. I enjoyed every second of that fight. Did you guys mingle afterwards? Obviously, you guys have that tight bond, living with one another. Did you guys go out and celebrate together, enjoy the rest of the night?
We actually ended up sitting in there was like a little room in the back where they had food and stuff, and we were actually ended up hanging out back there with and Davi Ramos was back there too. He showed me how he does the body triangle. It was pretty sick because when we watch his videos, we saw he did a body triangle, and we're working on, okay, so turn to the foot side and step on that foot, but he doesn't do it in a traditional way. So once he had it on me, I'm like, oh shoot, how do I get out of this thing? Because he showed me last night how he does it. It was pretty cool. He put it on me and whatever. It was pretty awesome of him. But he locks it in between the legs. He actually locks his triangle in between the legs and then pops under on the inside with his foot, which is an interesting little detail, and it makes it pretty impossible to get off.
So obviously,
it really gives a lot of stability.
You're training with a really great team over with Stipe. Let's talk a little bit about that before we let you go. What would you like to see Stipe do next? Do you think he's more deserving of that heavyweight rematch, considering what he was able to do at heavyweight?
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah, he should be in there, but if Brock can pass his drug test, he's probably getting that fight, huh?
So honestly, how's the vibe at the gym right now, going towards the end of the year?
It seems pretty good. I haven't got back yet. Monday I'll be back, but it seems good.
That was kind of a silly question, but
don't embarrass all my coaches and everything.
Listen, man, one of the things that people love you talking about is the llamas. Are you still doing that? Are you still going there and cheering the llamas, or did you kind of take a break from that, or is that never going to go away? Is that just in your DNA?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing it. It's seasonal, so it's 3 months out of the year. So it's just in the summer, because they just need shorn once a year. So we just try to pack them all in 3 months. But hopefully I can keep doing that. We'll see.
And has your living situation changed since being on The Ultimate Fighter? Now you got, maybe a little bit more money in your pocket, or are you still enjoying living, kind of like a wild boy, man? I don't blame you. You have a house with so many people in it. It's man, I kind of want to do my own thing, be left alone. And, me and you were talking about last time you were on, we like animals more than we like people, honestly. So what's your living situation like right now?
Yeah, it's the same. I'm kind of a little antisocial, and it's just convenient, just being able to move wherever, just park wherever and just live there. So, I'm just living out of my van right now.
Last question before we let you go. You being from Ohio, man, were you able to catch out MGK's new album, Binge?
Oh, the Eminem disc thing?
Yeah, it's on that album. Yeah, did you hear the Eminem disc? When did you think about that, since you're an Ohio boy?
I heard that. I guess I didn't hear the whole album.
So what did you think about the disc? Who do you think did a better disc? Because I don't even want to listen to Eminem's disc ever again, because I'm such an MGK fan.
Oh yeah. I mean, I like MJK. Machine Gun Kelly's. I like his kind of like a catchier tune, I think. But I don't know. I like Eminem. He's got he's got he's got so many plays on words. He works in there. It's like so sometimes when I'm cheering, I'll take like a 1 minute clip of different songs, and I'll just put them and I'll listen to them all day, one after another, and to time myself. Because if you're doing 100 animals and you start getting behind, you got to kind of have a way to keep a pace. And if you time yourself, people think you're rushing or whatever. So sometimes I'll just listen to like 1 minute clips of songs. And so I had this 1 minute clip of an Eminem song, which I listened to. And after listening to like the same song all day, or 1 minute clip of it, I realized like there's like 100 different plays on words I didn't even notice the first couple times I listened to it. Just built in there. It's kind of amazing. And some of his songs, like all the little intricacies he works in, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's totally true, and that's definitely a good way of realizing that. A lot of people they don't catch on to the little things like that. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm such an MGK fan. Man, before we let you go, if everything can work out perfect, when do you want to get back in there? Do you want to get in there before the end of the year, early January, February? When would be an ideal card for you to get back in there? How long?
Right now,
I could tell last night you were ready to go. You're like, I
yeah.
need more. I could fill in if anyone needs me to fill in.
Yeah, I mean, it's so disappointing. Like, I didn't even. I mean, I didn't. I was like, man, at least I could have like got hurt or something. And then I had to. Then I tapped to a choke like a pansy. Like I don't know why I did. I just like I think it's like what you're not thinking clearly when you're like. At least I could have gone out and just passed out with some dignity, but I think I'm just used to like tapping in practice and like not thinking clearly when my oxygen deprived.
Did you catch the main event? What were your thoughts on that, man? If there's one thing that Yair taught us, it's like don't give up on yourself. Even if there's 1 second left, give it your all. Well, did you catch that?
Crazy, incredible. At first, I thought he ducked his head and he brought his head up and knocked him out with his own head. I didn't even see the elbow. And then when I saw the replay, it's insane.
Man, what a way to...
He had such presence of mind. Like, and then another spot in the fight, he got hurt real bad by the zombie, and then you could tell he was staggered, but he just jumps in the air and throws like a flying knee. That's like a good reaction, you know. If you're staggered, might as well just throw something crazy out there.
Yair's another one of those guys, like you're talking with the MGK, where it's just like these little things that he incorporates into his game, just adds little things in split seconds. It's just phenomenal. It's amazing to watch and to get a win over the Korean Zombie, because I had the Zombie up every single round. I had him up 4-1, and then 1 second left, and boom, boom.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and what a way to end the 25th anniversary card. Like, it is incredible. Well, it's like a minute or second left or something. It's crazy.
John, I want to thank you so much for coming on Pure Evil MMA once again. We got to get you back on when you get your next fight, man. It's only your first loss, so you shouldn't be too upset in there, man. So moving forward, we'd love to have you back on the show. Last but not least, what we always do, if you have any shout outs, anything that you want to say, sponsors, anything at all, the floor is all yours.
Oh, no, I just appreciate you guys having me on, and that's awesome. Thank you.
The Machine, everybody. Thank you so much, Gunther.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not... Those people that put the plastic piping over my carotids, I'm upset about that.
Wait, what?
I get metal next time. What?
What happened? What happened?
Oh, so before the fight, I thought, okay, this guy's it's okay if he breaks my arm, I just don't tap. And then I just get implanted like plastic PEX piping over my carotid arteries. That way it can't choke me unconscious. But it didn't work at all because the plastic, like the dude had such a squeeze. Look at the biceps on that guy. And it didn't work. So next time metal. Next time only metal for the Machine.
Thank you so much for that last clip there. If
you see me tapping, don't be fooled. It's just Morse code for I never surrender.
Gunther, thank you so much. That's the perfect way to end an interview, man. You're a true legend, bro.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much, John. Have a great night, boss.
You too.
There you guys go, John Gunther, man. I love talking to that guy. I get so fired up when my cheeks hurt right now because every time he comes on, I learn something new. Like he's such an interesting character, and we've been talking about this a lot lately. Like the UFC eats this up, which is why I think it would be really hard to cut somebody like John Gunther when he has such a big following. Like somebody even said, he was like, I was like, why? How is Julian Rosa signed John Gunther and not Joe Giannetti? At least sign Joe Giannetti. And somebody was like, well, you know what? It's the new era WME IMG. Gunther, even him just shearing llamas. It's just like people love that. It's his character, and people get excited whenever he has an upcoming fight. He's an Ohio boy. I mean, there's so many things going for him. I really don't think this loss sets him back too much, man, because he's a guy like Artem, just has a crazy backing, man. It's awesome. And like I said, he has a win over a guy that won last night, Devontae Smith. I would love to see that rematch go down. I think that would give him some leverage. Call him out. Call out Devontae Smith. Get the rematch going. And if you guys saw that first fight between the two, it was a bloody mess. Gunther just tired him the hell out at the end of it after almost being finished. John Gunther, everybody. There's so much to unwrap there from what he just shared with us. Between the MGK clips, the 1 minute clips, like there's just so much. All right, so calling in next. Let's see what the schedule looks like here. All right, so UFC Denver's John Gunther, 820. Or you guys can follow him at Follow Me I'm Blind on Instagram. And if you guys want to follow Jack Stapelton, you can follow him at Relentless Worldwide on Instagram as well. All right, so it's 8:30, which is the news rundown. At 8:40, which is right now, Robert Turnquest is going to be calling in. You can follow him at Apex 170. We're going to be talking to him about Chaz Skelly's fight and that the ref pulling him off. I want to get a fighter's initial reaction. And then at 8:55, Jules Marie Perez. You can follow her at G_I_Jules, and she's calling in from Iron Shin Muay Thai. Big shout out to our people over at Iron Shin. But we got Robert TQ Turnquest calling in any second, guys. Let us know what you thought about last night's fight. Give me 1 second to pull him in. I have all these messages, even from McSweeney. Hey, cool. And now, which reminds me, guys, go follow Gloves Off Podcast. Me and James McSweeney, Ultimate Fighter Season 10, #1 pick for Team Rashad. Came over with Big Brown and Rashad Evans, like all as a trio for that season of the Ultimate Fighter. Go check out our podcast, Gloves Off. We got Robert TQ Turnquest calling in right now. What's going on, TQ?
Not a whole lot. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. I'm just trying to really just digest what we witnessed last night. And I was telling everybody, big reason why I wanted to have you on the show is not just to talk about what's next with you, but to kind of unravel what happened in that Chaz Skelly fight. Now, first off, man, were you watching the fights last night live? And what was your initial reaction when you saw Chaz Skelly get pulled off by the ref?
So I didn't watch all the fights live, but I did watch that one. I watched about 5 of them live. And, man, holy shit. That was just blatant robbery. Like, I have no other way to describe that. And that was just robbery. Like, anybody that does jiu-jitsu knows that if your muscles are all tight and you're trying to violently pull your arm out, you're going to get stuck in that Darce choke. It's going to get tight really, really quick. Chaz did the right thing. He, loosened his arm up a little bit and he was trying to pull it out. And as soon as he did, the referee stopped it. Like, he was not out at all. And I've actually trained with Chaz down at HK 365. And his jiu-jitsu is slick. Like, he is really good on the ground. So for that to get stopped that quick, that was disappointing.
A big thing that was like a red flag where it was like, how could he be out? Because when he got pulled off, he had an initial immediate reaction to the ref being like, are you joking me?
Yeah, and the ref should have realized at that point, like, oh shit, I just messed up big time. But I mean, at that point, the ref he'd already messed up. Like, he couldn't go back and be like, all right, well, set this Darce choke back up and put your arms back over here. Like, yeah, I mean, it's really messed up, and I wish they would, use a replay for stuff like that. But yeah, that was just robbery.
Yeah, instead of the ref trying to see what he did wrong to admit his mistakes. He was just kind of protecting himself, being like, no, I made the right call here. What do you think should be changed in that situation? I mean, obviously, I feel like refs know this. They should have a background so they know, what to look for. And I don't know what the ref's background here was, but what would be a sign of somebody going out in that situation? And did you see any sign of him going out?
No, I didn't see any sign of him going out. So I agree 100%. I think that the referees should have a background in striking and in grappling. They should. I don't want to say they have to be a brown belt, because I know purple belts that are very capable and blue belts that are very capable. But I think they should have some background in grappling, as well as some background in striking. All the referees. I posted a video right after it on my Instagram.
I saw that.
All the referees that I've ever dealt with, when they think someone might be out, the first thing they say is, "Hey, are you okay in there? Or are you still good? Are you awake?" They say something to try to get you to signal them like, "Yeah, man, I'm still good." I was caught in a really tight triangle before, and I ended up being in there for like a minute and a half. And after about 30 seconds, I realized I have to relax, otherwise this triangle is going to get set. So I relaxed, and as soon as I did, the referee asked me, he was like, "Hey, are you okay in there?" And I gave him a thumbs up, so the fight could keep going. If they had said something to Kelly, like, "Hey, you good? You still alive?" I'm 100% positive Kelly would have given some type of sign that he was still good, and the fight would have been able to keep going. But the referee just jumped in and stopped it. How many times have we seen people get choked out and they're out for seconds? They're out for 5, 6, 10 seconds before the referee jumps in. Like, that happens more often than the early stoppage.
We saw that last night also. We saw late stoppages also. Like, it was all over the place.
So, I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of training that needs to go into these referees, but yeah, I don't know about last night. That was just blatant robbery.
Now, you say they should have replays in the UFC. I totally 100% agree. That's something that we've seen be incorporated into other sports like the MLB, the NFL, to challenge something. How do you think that would work in MMA? I mean, how would you even restart the fight? Like, because it's a huge adrenaline dump when something like that happens. We saw it in Silva versus Bisping.
One guy that thinks he just won, so he's all excited. One guy that thinks he lost. It's definitely a fight-changing situation, and I really don't know the best way to restart it. But like in jiu-jitsu, they'll restart the match from that particular position. Or so I really don't have the best answer for this one, but they need something at a best case scenario. That should have been called a draw or a no contest.
I agree. I 100% agree with that. That's probably the answer right there. Because if you do incorporate the replay there, I mean, and the fighter really wasn't out, it's going against his record, which doesn't change. I say this all the time. This isn't the NFL. This isn't the MLB. When it's January, you still have the same record from last year. And that's a big hit to have a loss on your UFC record.
Yeah. Now, granted, it's not going to hurt Chaz that much. Dana knows the situation.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's well aware of it. Chaz is 21-5 now, or 20-5 now. Like, Chaz is a top performing guy, but you get another guy on there that's on the undercard. He's on the preliminaries or something like that. That just got into the UFC, and maybe he's taking a short notice fight. He's only got this one fight to prove himself. He could have just got screwed out of a UFC contract.
It's definitely unfortunate. There's a lot of things that need to change. And we actually spoke about it last time we were on the podcast about like even the judging has to change, like figure something out there with having judges go in like a back room, not being affected by the audience around them. There's a lot of things that we need to be changing. And last night, after 25-year anniversary, you would think this would be figured out by now. Something would be figured out by now in a situation like we saw with Chaz Skelly. Now, last thoughts on this, man. If you were in that situation, how would you react? Because you did the same thing and you gave the thumbs up. How do you think Chaz should have reacted? Because his arm was tied up in that situation. What would you have done if that was you? And you can.
It's a little bit different because I had a referee that he was a much I don't know this guy that was refereeing, but in my opinion, this guy that I had was a much better referee, and he gave me the chance to say like, yes, I'm still good. He asked me, hey, are you all right in there? And so I was able to give a thumbs up. If the referee had asked Chaz, like, hey, are you okay in there? He could have raised a foot. He could have done something. He could have said, yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. Like,
we didn't see that. That's right. The ref didn't even ask. He just kind of jumped in there. And the way in a couple of his fights, when he would jump in there, it was kind of slow and weird. Like, it was like he was unsure of his own decision there.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought. Like, he was jumping in to stop it, but he was like, I don't know if I should.
Yeah. 100%, man. Would you protest this? Would you try to, have it overturned to a no contest if you were Chaz? Or would you not even go through that effort?
I would probably try to overturn this one. I had one where I was hit in the back of the head several times, and a buddy of mine suggested that I try to get it overturned, but I knew from the first hit I was out, so I was like, no, I'm not. He caught me, I'm not going to try to overturn that. But a situation like this, where he was very clearly still in the fight, I would try to get that overturned.
Yeah, I would too, man. It's upsetting because you're losing money when you get the loss. Like, these guys are probably making, what, 10 and 10, 20 and 20, 15?
Well, Chaz better not be making 10 and 10. Chaz better be the 30 and 30 or 40 and 40 range. Yeah. But, the thing is, we have the disclosed pay and the undisclosed pay, and I hope that Dana White took care of him. I hope that he was like, hey, man, look, I know you got robbed. I'm going to give you at least half your win money or something. But, yeah, he's definitely losing money in this. He's losing stock in the UFC. He goes down in the rankings. Somebody else moves up in the rankings. I mean, there's a lot of things to consider, but hopefully the UFC took care of him.
Even Paul Felder. That's why I love Paul. Paul's been on the show a couple times here on Pure Evil MMA, and he's so true and unbiased. I thought he did a phenomenal job after the fight because it's against UFC's policy to interview somebody that was just finished. I am so happy they had Chaz talk on the mic and kind of clear things up. But for his opponent, it being his debut, what a weird debut to start off with, huh?
Yeah, you get a super controversial debut, and then everybody's going to question everything from that point on. They're going to be like, hey, is this guy what we really thought he was? Like, he might have finished. There's a chance he could have finished that joke. There's always that possibility. But now nobody will ever know, and everybody's going to question it until his next fight. So now he's going to go into his next fight with that chip on his shoulder of, I have to prove myself this fight.
100% agree, man. It's like the Tootsie Pop effect. The world will never know, because that's the argument. People are like, oh, he wasn't going to get out of it. Well, we will never know. So moving on here, TQ, before we got, 5 more minutes left here in the interview before the next caller, I want to talk a little bit about you, but really quick, let's end on a note about UFC Denver. Were you able to catch the main event or no?
Oh my God, yes, I caught the main event. That was absolutely insane. People are saying that it was luck. But, man, when you look at some of those replays, some of the angles, he was looking at where he was throwing that elbow. So it was luck that the Korean Zombie just rushed in as fast as he did. But I really think that was a planned elbow. Had the Korean Zombie been, 2 inches to the left or 3 inches to the left, that elbow would have missed entirely. But I think that was a really solid elbow.
Honestly, what a way to end the 25-year anniversary with a bang like that against a fighter like the Korean Zombie after being down 4 rounds to 1. Absolutely phenomenal, man. And honestly, that is how you end a big event like that. Free to everybody that gets to witness that. That only helps the UFC moving forward. But when people are tuning in for the first time and they see shit like the ref fucking up, it's definitely a big turnoff. So there are pros and cons to last night's card. But let's move on with the interview here, TQ. What is next for you, man? You're definitely trying to get back in there. I've been peeping your Instagram. I saw you, the walkout. You're just thirsty for it. So when can we see you back in there? What are the plans?
Dude, I am so hungry and I'm ready to go right now. I mentioned it to you before. I had hopes that it was going to come through, that I was going to fight on the Bellator card. In Hawaii, they're doing 2 back-to-back cards on the 14th and 15th of December. One of them is specifically fighting the troops, the USO show, and I did not get on that card. Instead, they told me that, again, I need it's about timing. It's not the right time for me to get on that
Robert
card.
Turnquest from the United States holds the rank of black belt in judo.
Put people with losing records on the card, so that's kind of disappointing. I was really hoping for that. As of right now, I have no clue what's next. I'm hoping to get a fight in December or January, and I'll take short notice fights. I'll take pretty much whatever comes my way. But there is a card in February for Aramis MMA in Poland. And the owner and matchmaker for Aramis have contacted me, and they said, hey, we want you to headline our card. So if nothing else comes up, then that's what I'm going to do. But I still want to fight before then.
Poland. Have you ever been out to Poland before, man? That's where Mayhem Miller went for a while to hide out there with Horwitz.
Yeah, no, I haven't been out there. I did hook up with a Polish girl once at the Military World Games in 2011, but yeah, that's the closest I've got to being in Poland. But yeah, man, I'm really excited about that one. I'm 100% positive that one's going to go through. The matchmaker is friends with a friend of mine, and my friend was like, hey, I got this guy, he's a pro fighter, and me and the matchmaker started talking, and he was like, holy shit, you fought for M1, you fought for Titan. He was like, yeah, we'd love to it's a smaller promotion, but he was like, we'd love to get you, we'd love to get you out here, we'll fly you out, we'll take care of you. So I'm 100% positive that's going to go through, but I still want something before then.
Well, listen, man, I have to ask you, you're talking about Titan FC. Jose Shorty Torres was just cut from the UFC along with the rest of the flyweight division. What were your initial thoughts on that?
That one, again, I think that's bullshit. There's not a lot of hype around the flyweight division, but I think that's purely because of the way that the UFC promotes the flyweight division. They had the most dominant champion the UFC has ever seen, and he was barely known and barely promoted. Like, hardcore MMA fans know who Demetrius Johnson is, but the casual fan should know who the shit he did. I mean, yeah, Henry Cejudo beat him, but before that, he beat Henry with a knee. He did they call the crab trap? The armbar where he fucking flew through, what's his name? Up
Wilson
in the air.
Hayes. Yeah, Wilson Hayes, I think.
Yeah, like, I really think that the flyweight division is underrated by the UFC. I think that they could have done a better job of promoting it. And I 100% blame Dana White and the UFC for the flyweight division getting cut. There's no reason that Demetrius couldn't have been doing pay-per-view headlines. Like, it's all about promotion. When you promote the 155, the 170, you promote it's 155 and up that gets the most promotion. When you promote them, that's who the fans want to see because that's who they know. So promote your 11-time. Was it 11-time? Yeah, promote your 11-time champ. Like, this guy set all types of records, and you didn't promote him hardly at all.
Yeah, it was definitely upsetting when we found out that he was leaving the UFC, and then all of a sudden the entire division's dissolved. We get guys cut like Jose Shorty Torres, Jared Brooks. All these guys came checking in. It's changing up lifestyles, man. So like, it's just very upsetting. It's very upsetting the direction that the UFC took there. But honestly, I wouldn't mind if they opened up the 170-pound division. But we'll talk about that next time that you come on Apex. TQ, you know what we like to do here at the end of the interview. If you have any shout outs, anything that you want to say at all, the floor is all yours.
No, not this time. Just, my usual training partners and everybody. Muso Gear, one of my sponsors, Haga Fightwear, another one of my sponsors. But I'm going to save all my big shout-outs for whenever I actually can come on here and announce a fight. Like, that's my plan. As soon as I get a fight, you're going to be the first one to know. I'm going to come on here and we're going to talk for an hour or two, and I'm going to let everybody know what's up.
That's what I love. I love when you come on. We talk for a couple of hours about things in MMA and big topics. I've been waiting. We've been waiting for that moment to happen. So it's very upsetting that Bellator didn't have that go through. That's just it. It's really cringe. I have to cringe at that, them not bringing you on after all your years of service. So for that, I got to say thank you, TQ, for all of your service that you've done for our country here in the United States.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me on here. As always, I love coming on and talking to you. You're my favorite podcast. And I know we're out of time, but that new logo, That shit is nice. You need to put that on some merchandise like quick so I can get that t-shirt.
All right, hell yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that for sure. And I appreciate you supporting the Pure Evil MMA podcast at the gym, rocking the Pure Evil MMA tee. That means everything to me. Everything.
All right, man. I'm going to get off here. Let you get on to the next caller, whoever that is. And shoot me the link and everything when this is posted. And, I'll post it out to all my people. And I'll talk to you hopefully really, really soon. But, you know how it is.
TQ, we'll talk real soon, all right? Have a great night.
You too, man. Thanks.
Boom, TQ Turnquest. Let's get to our next guest here. Let me tell her to call back really quick. Call now. So our next guest is Jules Marie Perez. Now, this girl, she's a Muay Thai boxer, but there's a lot of things I want to talk to her about because she's also an artist. And I love fighters that you get to see like the creative skills. And she also started as like a bodybuilder. There's a lot that we can talk about with Jules Perez. And she's one of the girls that obviously is easy to look at. So she's going to be killing it on Instagram. She got more followers than I do on Instagram right now. What is going on, Jules? How are you doing tonight?
Hey, good. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. So let's jump right into things. I mean, how long have you been inside the sport of Muay Thai? How did you start inside Muay Thai?
Actually, it's kind of a long story, so I won't bore you with that. But I've been doing it for, a little over 5 years. And before that, I did karate. I did point sparring karate, and I just kind of wanted something a little bit more aggressive, something more challenging. So I basically just Googled a place nearby, and I went in the gym, and I never stopped going.
How long ago was that for you?
That was a little over 5 years ago.
Because, like, I was peeping your Instagram, and it seemed like, not only are you just an artist, but you were a bodybuilder at one point?
Oh, no, I don't. I mean, I love working out, and I probably just act like I'm a bodybuilder, but really I'm not. But yeah, that's part of my training for being a fighter.
I mean, I was going back to like 2016. You're lifting some serious weight.
Oh yeah. I can only do that. I can't do that all the time. If I'm not training for a fight, I'm able to lift heavy weight. Otherwise, it has to be, lighter, explosive weight. Otherwise, I carry too much weight.
So also on your Instagram, I was looking, and one thing that I can definitely relate with you on is your passion and love for art. I'm looking here. What do? You go to like the flea market or Goodwill, you pick things up and kind of just do like arts and crafts?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I love going to thrift stores and going to the Goodwill. I mean, some people aren't about it, but I love it. And, I'm a right brainer. I'm left-handed, I'm a southpaw, so I kind of like just making, just winging it, just making random things. I wouldn't necessarily call myself like an artist. I just like being creative,
Well, right now, we're looking at your juju chair that you did. Can you kind of explain the inspiration for that? Well, like it says it was inspired by the Evil Eye with mine and Emily Perez's handprint in the center. What was the inspiration for this, the good juju chair?
You know what? I have no idea. Honestly, I just wing like half the things in my life. And so I wanted something kind of like bohemian style, just the colors. And I was just like, I didn't know what to do. And I remember I went upstairs in my room. I was like, what the hell am I going to put on this chair? And I looked at my wall and I had an evil eye up there. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use my fingerprints and make an evil eye on the chair. And I'm like, maybe I'll just put my handprint in the middle of it. I'm like, I'm going to put my daughter's handprint right on top of mine. I just kind of just thought of it randomly. It wasn't anything I planned.
Oh, that's so awesome because it seems like you're definitely enthralled with. I didn't even know that you had a little girl. How old's your little girl?
She's 16.
Oh wow, so she ain't that little. She ain't that little at all.
No, she's not little.
So were you really young? Because you obviously look like you're my age. Like, were you really young when you had her, or what?
Yeah, I was 16 when I had her.
Oh, wow. And what did that change for you? Because I know a lot of girls, I know a lot of single females now that have children in this day and age. What was that like for you? What did that change in your life?
It's just kind of one of those points that either, they make you or they break you. And, I think by having her at the age I had her, it made me grow up so quickly. And it made me, just from the community and family, you encounter a lot of adversity. And I just think that me as a woman, that just made me more resilient, which is part of the reason why I am a fighter right now.
I respect that because I grew up with a single mother. She had me when she was about 17 years old. So I was raised by teenagers, and it was pretty cool. Like, we're all kind of grow up and learning together in a way. So did you kind of have like a closer bond with your daughter than you did with your own mother?
Oh, absolutely. That was actually one of the main things I
Yeah.
wanted because I didn't have that close relationship with my mom. And so I always told myself, whenever I have, a child, preferably a daughter, I'm going to make sure that we are really close. So that's what I didn't have in my relationship. That's what we have right now. I mean, she and I were just, out hiking now at Montana de Oro just together right now. I mean, we do stuff together all the time. We're best friends.
And I always see that you're at the pier out there. That's something that we don't have out here on the East Coast, at least much of it. That's got to be pretty cool living out in that area of the world. What are some of the perks?
It's gorgeous where we live. It's so beautiful. I mean, there's not a lot of people that live around here. It's kind of like, just a little treasure that people don't know about. But, I mean, today, it was 69 degrees out there. And it was just, it was absolutely gorgeous. Perfect day.
So it looks like you guys do a lot of outdoor activities. What's your living situation like right now? Do you have a house, or are you just kind of going from one place to another like a lot of us do?
Oh, we've been in the same place. We rent, so we've just been in the same condo for I think like 4 years.
Is it kind of weird for your daughter to know that her mom's a fighter? Like, how does she feel about that? Like, if my mom was a fighter or my dad was a fighter, and I was in school, I'd think I was badass. Be like, don't mess with me. My parents are fighters. Like, how does she feel about mom being a combat sportswoman?
Oh, she totally loves it. I mean, friends at school, she's like, my friends that you don't even know, they follow you on Instagram, and like her friends think I'm the coolest thing, which is pretty awesome. I'm the cool mom.
What do you guys got? A little dog too, I see.
Oh yeah, Phoebe, our little mutt.
Does she get to go to the gym? Because I know a lot of fighters, when they travel or have to go somewhere, they get their dog registered because it's a comfort thing. You're going to a new area, a new place. You want to have that feeling of home. Some people bring their stuffed animal. Some people bring their dog. Do you have your dog registered? Can she go to fights with you?
I wish that she could come, but she's such a little brat. Like, she is not good with strangers. Like, if anybody tries to approach her, like, she just gets all nippy. So it's like, we can't have her, like, around a bunch of people that are going to want to touch her,
So when is going to be your next fight? I mean, what are you looking for? It's almost the end of the year, 2019, right around the corner. What are you trying to do? What's your plan here?
We're actually looking right at the beginning of the new year. So I don't know if it's the end of January or the very beginning of February.
And what promotion are you going to be fighting with this time around?
So far, it looks like WCK.
Okay. And have you kind of scoped out the roster over there, or do you kind of just leave it to your coaches, your manager, to get the fight for you, and then give it to your coaches to train you for that specific fight? How do you get ready?
Yeah, my coach. We're actually pretty a new duo together. He just started coaching me probably like in March. So he was a professional MMA fighter. So he just kind of he's the one that does all the scoping out, and then he just works one-on-one with me.
Well, how do you know if you're in the right place? Like a lot of people out there, they'll probably ask if I'm trying to go find a gym, how do I know it's the right gym for me? What do you look for to be like, this is where I want to be?
No, totally. And I kind of just go by the person, because my coach, when he was a pro fighter, he had to basically look out for himself. So he kind of took me under his wing. So he's looking out for me. I just kind of go by his direction. I totally trust him. So I'm grateful to have somebody like that, looking out for me.
So really quick, I want to talk about some of your tattoos. We're looking at your Instagram right now. It seems like your husband does Japanese art. It seems like you obviously are enthralled in arts, like we were just talking about. So what do you got tattooed on your body?
Oh wow! Well, I have a willow tree. I have a red tail hawk, a dahlia flower. I have my green eye for my third eye consciousness. A dream catcher, a wolf. I have a nebula, tiger lilies, and I'm looking at myself, and and I have an elephant, and I actually got one of those sock yent tattoos from Thailand when I went to Thailand 2 years ago.
Which is what, for people out there that don't know, including myself, what does that mean?
The what? I'm sorry?
What exactly is that?
A sock yent?
Yeah.
That is those traditional tattoos that are given by the monks in the Buddhist temples in Thailand, and they use those bamboo sticks.
Jeez,
So it's like it's kind of like a ceremony. Like you give like like they're giving you like a blessing, like you give a donation, and then you go and get blessed by the monk. So yeah, it's one of those traditional those stick tattoos.
How do you get one of those? Like not anybody can just go and do that. How did you get that done?
Well, when the gym I was training at in Thailand, Sitwan Chai, they have like they're pretty they're pretty out there. So I mean, you have to really make some arrangements to get around to the temples. But so they made the arrangement for me just to take one of their taxis over there, and I just went to Wat Bang Phra. And yeah, I just went in there and waited in line, and I got mine done.
So I'm looking at the picture of that third eye. Let's talk a little bit about that. For people out there that don't know about the third eye, I love, one of my favorite bands is Tool. They do a lot of study and talk about the third eye. What's your love? When did you discover third eye and being one with the universe?
I think it's still a work in process. I mean, I look back at myself from 3 years ago, and I'm just like, gosh, I thought I was aware now, and I look at myself now, I'm like, gosh, I'm so much more aware, than I was 3 years ago, and I'm just going to keep on being that way. 5 years from now, I'm going to look back at myself now, and it started, I think, when there was a relationship I was in. I was with the guy for 8 years, and after I split from him, just so much more of my mind became open. And I think just being with him, some of his thought processes were very narrow. And I think just being away from that really broadened mine. So I think that's what at that point.
How did you get out of that toxic situation? Because a lot of people out there struggle with that. Like they'll be in a situation where it's more of a comfort thing, and they don't realize how toxic it really is and how much energy it's taking out of them.
No, absolutely. Like I was with him for 8 years. We lived together for 7. I thought I was going to be with that guy for the rest of my life, but there was always just something in the back of my mind that was just telling me that it wasn't him. I wasn't going to be with him, or if anybody. Like I wasn't looking for anybody. But I mean, it's really, really hard. I mean, thinking about the stuff that's unknown and like you're being so comfortable in a relationship. And I still don't know how I did it, but just knowing that it wasn't right for me, I just had to keep pulling through and hoping that there was some sort of light at the end of my tunnel,
Is it really cool being with somebody that's also into arts? I mean, I'm looking at a lot of his work here, and he has a similar style to like what I'm into. So is it kind of cool being with somebody that's also creative?
I think it's like when I first met Rob, my boyfriend now, like I had never met like an artist like him. And I absolutely love it because it's like I've always loved just doing, cultural things and artistic things. And he's totally into all of that. And like some people might think that, a man like, wanting to go to Michael's and get some craft stuff and then spending Saturday night doing crafts, at your kitchen table. Like, but he absolutely loves it, and I think that's like a bond that we get to share with each other,
So before we let you go, I got a question about your daughter. Does she go to your fights? Like, I think it would be really hard to go to a fight watching my mom get punched in the face. Does she go and support you?
Yeah, she didn't go to any of my amateur fights, but because she was scared. But then my first pro fight, she wanted to go. I'm like, so you don't go to any of my amateur fights, any of the 15 amateur fights, but then my first pro fight, the one with the most, the most susceptibility to me getting injured. You want to go watch that one. But she was totally all about it, man. She was out there like cheering me on. Like she wasn't as scared as she thought she'd be, but.
Does she watch mixed martial arts? Like, is she following along with like UFC or anything like that? Or does she go to the gym? Does she do anything on her own? Is she into MMA, or does she not really mess around with it at all?
She's not into fighting as of yet. She did do karate. She has her junior black belt in karate. I mean, she used to kick all the guys' asses when she was a little kid, But right now, she's more into weightlifting. She goes to the gym and she lifts weights, which is like her thing.
You do see things that are like really similar between you two, obviously. Like those two things, like that's got to be so weird seeing like a mini you. They're only a couple of years apart too, so.
I know, exactly.
And the cool part about that, like when I have kids, I'm about to be 30 years old, and it's like my kids will get to have a grandma and a great grandma because my mom's so young, my grandmother is so young, and just like I really love that about this generation. It's like people are ended up living a little bit longer or whatnot. But before we let you go, last but not least, what's your plan for the end of the year? I know that you said that you got an upcoming fight, but did you get to celebrate Halloween? Do you celebrate Christmas? What's the end of your year look like?
What does the end of my year look like?
Yeah.
Right now we're just training. We're drilling a lot of basics and building up my muscle memory for when I get back in the ring. And then looking to go to the snow at the end of the year since I never get to see snow. I've seen it once.
Well, I got to see that you dressed up for Halloween. What was the what did you dress as?
Gosh. Well, I was bored. I got bored on we didn't have any party. We didn't get invited to any party, so we're like, whatever. I want to dress up though. So 12 o'clock, I was just like, I want to. My neighbors were having a party, so I just kind of dressed up. I had like that dress I got from the Goodwill, and I just painted my face a little bit, and I was just kind of just running amok, going up and down the street, and then kind of like bugging the neighbors next door, like knocking on the fence, trying to scare them, but they were too drunk when they saw me, so I didn't scare them.
I mean, it's never too old. You're never too old to go trick or treating.
Yeah.
And you walking down the street like that, like we're looking at the picture. Throwback to midnight last Saturday, causing chaos around our neighborhood. I would be scared shitless if I saw you walking up my street at midnight. Shitless.
Oh my god, and there was like a cop that drove by too, and like I was doing this thing where a cop would like drive, or a car would drive by, and I would just stop. And they would just keep on driving slow by me, and I did that, and there was a freaking cop. I was like, oh, shit. And then I saw him slow down at the end of the street, so I just turned around and I booked it back home.
What is that, like a wedding dress that you're wearing? Like, that looks like an expensive dress that you put on for this.
It was some vintage dress I got, like, from a few Halloweens ago at the Goodwill. It was like a gunny sack dress, and I guess that was really popular in the 70s. So it's like a straight vintage dress. It's a wedding dress, I guess.
That is so scary. Yeah. Last but not least, I also see that picture of like a skull that you painted. What did you paint that first off? Project Calavera?
Yeah, I did it because obviously I'm half Mexican, so I'm into the Mexican culture, Dia de los Muertos. So I just painted a skull. I got those just ceramic skulls from Michael's, and I wanted to paint one. So yeah, I just spent a Saturday night just doing that for fun.
And like, I need to get back into arts like that. Like, arts and crafts are so much fun, and you're never too old to do stuff like that. So I really appreciate you bringing that side out for people listening to the show right now, because I feel like people need to do more of that, and they'd find more peace with themselves. It's such a huge stress reliever. You find that?
Oh, absolutely. It's therapeutic. Yeah.
Extremely therapeutic. So before we let you go, last but not least, if you have any shout outs, sponsors, anything at all, the floor is now all yours.
Oh, yeah. Okay, shout out to obviously my coach, Postal P MMA, the gyms that we train at, Pit Fit in San Luis Obispo, the Buddha-Ryu in San Luis Obispo, and also my fitness gym, Athlon Elite, also in San Luis Obispo.
And people can follow you on Instagram at G_I_Jules. But where else can they follow you? On Facebook, Twitter? Where else can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, I really just have Instagram and a Facebook. So it's under Jules Marie Perez for my Facebook.
And I'm glad that you realize, like, in this era, you need to have an Instagram and promote yourself. You're your biggest promoter, and it seems like you're spot on with that. So we really hope that your career blossoms, and we have to have you back on soon for your fight.
Oh, absolutely. I would love that.
Thank you so much, Jules Marie Perez, everybody.
Thank you.
There you guys go. Jules Marie Perez. Give her a follow at G_I_Jules. Now, I have been sick all day. It took me a little while to get up, get motivated to do the show, but I made one promise to everybody, and that is I will never let you down again. When I make a promise and I tweet it out, it's gonna happen unless the fighters don't call in or whatever happens. Which reminds me, before I end today's show, Chad Skelly, who just lost last night in a very controversial way, he is going to be calling in this week to Pure Evil MMA. Not sure exactly what day he's going to be calling in. Also, Jay Cuccinella, which, oh my God, let's go to Jay's page really quick, because I'm actually waiting for him to call, but he said that he's on his way home right now and that he would call when he got home. I'm not sure what time that's going to be, but I have to show you his what to him at the bare knuckle boxing fight. And just really quick, if you guys did not catch it, Johnny Hendricks getting the L against Pure Evil MMA's own Dakota Cochran, who is also an Ultimate Fighter. Hello, fellow. Check out Johnny Hendricks, man. That's one hell of a fucking win, if you ask me. Jay Cuccinello also getting the W. Chris Lieben beating Phil Baroni. Absolutely nuts. All right, so guys, Mellow Fellow, and if you're listening to this on the podcast right now, hop over to the YouTube channel because you're missing out on all the visuals. I'm going through all the fighters' Instagrams, Tapologies. As we talk to them, you're not just looking at my ugly mug anymore. I promise. I promise it's now safe to go back to Pure Evil on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and press the notification bell. But check this out. This literally is virtually identical. Check this out. Those are the same freaking scars as Chucky. And he is rocking it in fashion. You gotta love it. Jay Cuccinello. Now look at him. I love Jay. This was such a good season. This was such a good season of The Ultimate Fighter. I'm gonna be honest, I did not watch a single episode from this season of Ultimate Fighter. Season 27 did it for me. And I kind of banked on that being the last season in my mind. That's what everybody was talking about. Hey, I will be like number 665. Last night we followed somebody. We ended up being their 666th follower. Heifer last night, the female fight. She ended up losing to can't even remember. Barber? Macy Barber? I can't remember. I think, yeah, Barber. Which I want to see Barber versus Malia Martin too. Hopefully I'm getting the names right. And guys, during the interview, I brought out our newest member to Pure Evil MMA, and she fucking shit on my shoulder. She's not potty trained yet. But come here, babe. We got the new baby, and we named her Shadow, which, I don't know, I was going to name her Angel because Joe Giannetti and Johnny Cupcakes came up with that nickname for her since I'm Pure Evil, and she's pretty much white. So why don't you name her Angel since she chills on your shoulders during the interviews? Well, now she's shitting on my shoulders and leaving little piss shadows, so she is Shadow. No, actually, the real reason why I named her Shadow was because when I picked her up from the pet store, I couldn't pick her up until Wednesday because she's still such a baby. If you see how tiny she is compared to the other girls, and I have two other girls upstairs, Puff and Bella, which they're upstairs, they're watching TV without me right now because my TV broke here in the studio. But I named her Shadow because I was listening, when we picked her up, I was listening to Avenged Sevenfold, and it was a rap. It was just a rap. A rap from there. Wake the Fallen, right, babes? All right, let's put you back. All right, bada bing, bada boom. So, like I said, I was not feeling too well. I am going to be trying to do the episode next with James McSweeney for Gloves Off, episode number 8. So I got to end today's live stream. So go check out episode 8 of Gloves Off podcast. I'm going to try to mix in with James right now, even though I feel like absolute shit right now. Are we on for 11 a.m. meet? And I think he's talking about his 11 a.m., which I think it's 10 a.m. there right now. So I got to get things going. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank all of our guests between, oh my God, we had a stacked show today. Jack Stapleton, who I was trying to get on the show for so long now. He's checking in. Kid's only, 19 years old, he said? Something like that. Jack Stapleton, follow him at Relentless Worldwide. Also, UFC Denver's own and Team Stipe's John Gunther. He always comes on here and gives us he's actually really smart. I understand that, like, he has a little difficulty talking, which we all fucking do. It took me a while to get my social skills down, and honestly, I like animals more than I like people as well. People stab you in the back and just be shitty to you, so I don't blame him. He loves animals and he just wants to go in there and fuck people up inside the cage. I don't blame him. That is one hell of a life. I love John Gunther. I love what he represents, so I'd love for him to get another fight. And it was such an honor having him back on the podcast. Always an entertaining interview. You can follow him at Follow Me I'm Blind on Instagram. Also, Robert TQ Turnquest, Apex 170. We have to have him back. I could talk to TQ for hours. He's back from the Brian Levick era, which I got to shout out my entire career between 2016 and 2018 to Brian Levick, rest in peace to him. But me and TQ kept a really good relationship ever since then. Same with me and Shorty. So even Luis Pena, I believe, was part of his team, which I did reach out for Luis, Violent Bob Ross, and Mike Trezano. Both of them have been on the show, but I'm sure they wanted to just go rest and relax and then hit me up during the week. Or maybe Arrow beat them to me, which Arrow, man, I'm on the come up, man. I keep telling you guys, I'm not here to get famous. I'm here to fuck up your favorite, just like Mac Miller says. Also, Jules Marie Perez ended today's live stream. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, guys. Subscribe down below. You can follow me on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Also on Instagram at Pure Evil MMA _. And then on Facebook, which I don't really like messing around with Facebook, but I'm on there because you got to be in this day and age. It's a bitch sometimes to keep up with every platform, have them be identical, but yet still please that specific audience, whether it's Instagram, which is definitely different than Twitter. So you can follow me on Facebook at Pure Evil MMA, lowercase s. So at Pure Evil MMA, s. That was so gay. All right, guys, I'm Evil Eddie. White knuckles till the end. Behave yourselves.